let's understand. We have a lot of Republicans who are very upset that Biden is now doing what their blubbery king could not do. What Trump yammered on about and failed to do, Biden is doing, and this is cascading across right-wing media to the point where they're like, he should step down. 600,000 fucking people died because of Trump's handling of fucking COVID, but Biden should step down because the Afghan army dropped their weapons and ran. Seriously? That's your argument. That's how much you want to shit on America. I know, 20.9K, Jill, on YouTube. We cracked that 20,000 mark, and we're on a bullet train to 25 because that's how it spreads. And again, we want to thank the trolls for showing up and helping us reach those bigger numbers, because without them, we would just, the same people. They show me the same people who watch my show, and they don't watch other shows. So, fine. All right, here we go. So let me show you the face of right-wing confusion and dumbfuckery. There you go. There it is. That's it. There you go. There he is. What's happening? I'm confused on the I don't know. Whoops, I moved my screen a little. Thank you. Scoot me over. What are you doing? I'll just slide over myself. There we go. I don't know why this is funny. There we go. So, Sean Hannity, there's a bunch of this bullshit, and of course, Don Jr. has to chime in that Dad would have done it better. Please love me, Dad. Please love me. But I think, we'll go on our, we'll go by reach, I think. So we'll go Sean Hannity, then huge drop off to Greg Kelly, then huge drop off to Don Jr., and then I want a little bit of like John Bolton. I got John Bolton talking about Biden's mistakes, a dude who never found a war he didn't like. So of course he hates getting out. Yeah, Sean's going to give us the most professional. This guy makes $90 million a year. This is the kind of quality dissection of a political and economic and humanitarian quagmire. These are difficult issues and multi-tiered issues going on in Afghanistan. And by God, you pay top dollar for this fucko, and he's gonna give you the inside schloop. Hold on, I have to do this. Hold on. Is it doing that here? Quit it. Is it not letting me? Okay. Camera input here. Nope, that's me. Okay. All right, there we go. I don't know why my thing was like the camera was sliding around. I'm bigger than normal today, but I deserve it. God damn it. Quality entertainment, yes, and yes, Hannity does look ever so slightly bloated. I don't know what he's eating these days, but who gives a shit? Apparently circus peanuts, because the fuck is with his coloring? That is not me, by the way. I'm not color correcting the videos that Fox puts up on its own site. I didn't make him that color. That's weird. What the hell is going on? Hold on. Oh, and I also have to do this. I forgot. I was in a rush today because I was watching the news so much. I didn't flip some switches in the studio. I apologize. There we go. Now I wake up my green screen around me, and there we go. All right, so let's see. Come on, Sean, give it to us. Give us all the news that's fit to have a fit over.
And tonight, Joe Biden is completely and totally...
Whoops, hold on. Is that... Okay, that's why. All right, hold on. Now I'm doubled up. Go away. All right, here we go.
Frankly, just humiliated the United States and the world.
No, we haven't. And why am I getting a slapback echo on this nonsense? I don't, I mean, as much as he looks like something Elvis left in a punch bowl, I don't think it's on him. We'll see.
World stage, any confidence the world had in our country is now gone. Saigon, circa 1975.
Yeah, no. You had a functioning government in the north that eventually took Saigon, and you do not the Taliban, which is honestly what we should be calling Alabama now. But you're welcome, Taliban. Yeah, yes, not circa 1975. He says circa because he doesn't know exactly when it happened, even though they had a meeting before the thing and before the show, presumably, and they picked videos. And he's got a teleprompter in front of him, and he or somebody's drafting something to say during the opening of this shit. But he has to say circa because he doesn't know.
Steroids, former defense secretary.
Wait. Saigon on steroids?
Is now gone. Saigon, circa 1975. Steroids. Former defense secretary and CIA director Leon Panetta rightly calling it, Biden's Bay of Pigs. And thanks to the
Well, no. Yeah, it's Biden's Bay of Pigs. Motherfucker, there were nukes involved. No one is threatening us with nuclear annihilation for getting into or getting out of Afghanistan. The Bay of Pigs? Yeah, I know. I don't know. Do I have an echo? By the way, what you're hearing, do I have an echo on my voice? That's probably something you guys could tell me. Because that's one of the things I can't check on my own. It's very aggravating. I'm not... Do we know what we're going to? Do we know that things are a lot to learn from you? Okay, good. Thank you. At least my voice isn't aggravating. I don't know what is happening. Is there a double going out the something? Is there something that I can fix with the thing? And the monitor's going out the thing and the built-in output. And I don't know. It's very strange. We'll find out.
Faded actions of our derelict, low-functioning president, if you want to even say that. That's
I would say he's high-functioning. Because he stayed at Camp David, did his work, talked to the generals, talked to everybody, made a decision, and is sticking with it. But we're back, by the way, we're back to President Sippy Cup from this fuckhead, by the way.
Somewhat charitable. The absolute worst-case scenario has been playing out before our eyes.
No, charitable is not, thank you. Charitable is not mentioning the fact that you look like a fire plug with a tie on.
Biden ignoring the advice and the counsel of his top U.S. military commanders.
You're sniffing like Trump. Is that part of being orange?
They wanted the slow evacuation of U.S. troops based on conditions on the ground. He ignored the warnings from our intel on the ground.
What, they wanted the slow evacuation? What? This wasn't the day. Let's understand. This was the slow evacuation. We were moving out of the south into the north, finally to Kabul, and then that was going to be it. And then September 11th was going to be the big day because we're going to be out basically a week before, which is about a week and a half from now. A little less. 10 days, right? And so 10 days from now, we were basically going to have all of our people out, and this was going to be and they thought the Taliban's definitely going to pull this off probably, but probably not for, 5 to 10 months. And, this was what I was thinking of earlier. So a bunch of these fuckers are going, the State Department came out and they were asking questions and they painted a rosy picture of what would happen after we left. And they didn't say that that it would fall apart. First of all, the Afghan government at that point was still technically functioning. They had a functioning military. We'd just given them more air capability. What is this, honest to God, what is the Defense Department spokesperson or the State Department gonna come out and fucking say 3 weeks ago about this? Dude, as soon as we're out, this fucking thing's gonna blow up. Oh my god, these guys are assholes. Can you, I mean, seriously. Yeah, sorry, Washington Post. What was your question? What's gonna happen when we leave? Shit show o'clock. These guys, have you seen these assholes? Oh my god. I mean, I've been telling everybody we should just blow our shit up when we leave. What are you gonna say? Are you, 670. We breezed right past 666. Well, thank you. So don't forget, 666 is a great way to support the show in the super chats, $6.66. I think you could do like 666 bits, but I don't know. 666 has been sold and renumbered 660 Fifth Avenue. Well, I'm going to name it back, Bob. Yes, thank you. 999 also works in honor of Herman Cain, the fallen right-wing anti-mask and anti-vaccine person who was murdered by the president, the former guy. So, there you go.
And now Afghanistan has fallen to the Islamic extremists, the Taliban, in record time. Kabul.
I'm sorry. What was the current record? I mean, I've been watching so much Olympics lately. My mind is full of numbers. What was the record on a country falling to one of its sides? I mean, like, since it's been an ongoing civil war for at least 25 years that we've been a part of, what counts as the end? I mean, are we talking like the day, like, generally surrendered, or?
Oh, they just said last week, it would be 90 days, the earliest that they'll ever take over Kabul. It was overrun in a matter of hours. Taliban fighters, they are now in control of a massive stockpile, guess what, of Joe Biden, U.S. taxpayer paid for weapons, ammo, vehicles.
Well, that should be, I mean, a lot of things are hard to look up. I'm going to guess that, let's see, Trump... Afghanistan weapons. Where would that be? Let's see. Trump administration formally notified Congress to sell nearly 500 million Persian Gulf War, and then individual managed sales post-transaction 97 million dollars for State Department. Saudi tens of thousands precision State Department says Gulf monarchy for its close ties scrutiny a long time. Saudi agents carried out a brutal account of Khashoggi under arms sales rules and 30 days notification. Congress said doubtful Congress was approval. President released the U.S. relationship with. Human rights, especially at Khashoggi, tap General Lloyd Austin, Spectre Thing, Raytheon. Let's see. I'm sure none of these weapons are going to get to the Taliban. None. Yeah, I don't know why you're even worried about it. Let's see. Here we go. The UN exposes the limits of the Trump peace plan with the Taliban. What? The what? The what now? The who? You gotta get out of here with the thing. Hold on, this has got to be brighter or something. Hold on. Where are you, silly light? All right. You didn't know what now? The UN exposes, contrary to the Trump administration's peace plan with the Taliban, Al-Qaeda is more embedded in the Afghan Taliban than ever. The Taliban have not renounced their alliance with Al-Qaeda. The maintenance of the alliance also raises disturbing questions about Pakistan's role in sponsoring Taliban war against the United States and NATO. The United States and its allies intervened in Afghanistan 19 years ago because the Taliban, led by Mullah Omar, would not hand over Osama bin Laden to face justice for 9/11 attacks. Al-Qaeda was a state within the state of Afghanistan with its own license plates and airport entrances, as well as very bougie, as well as a control of numerous camps and training bases. Under the so-called peace agreement, I think that's fair, signed with the Taliban by the Trump administration, but not by the government in Kabul. The Taliban is supposed to guarantee the territory it controls is not used for international terrorism against the U.S. and its allies. To do so, presumably the Taliban would shut down the Al-Qaeda infrastructure in their territory. The United Nations issued a report this week of the state of the Taliban and the relationship with Al-Qaeda. The UN monitors who prepared the report have a well-deserved reputation for excellent scholarship on the war and the Taliban. They report that Al-Qaeda has been operating covertly in Afghanistan while still maintaining close relationships with the Taliban. Indeed, Al-Qaeda is quietly gaining strength in Afghanistan while continuing to operate with the Taliban under their protection. Which, by the way, let's just say you are the U.S. government or NATO or any of our allies, and you're concerned about Al-Qaeda carrying out terrorist acts here and in Europe and in other countries, and mostly against other innocent Muslims. You would want the ability to go into those territories and kind of deal with that. But if you're having to juggle your relationship with the supposed, at that time, government in Afghanistan, that kind of creates an imbalance there, let's just say. According to the UN, the senior leadership of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban meet regularly. Joint U.S. military operation last September killed the leader of Al-Qaeda's India cell and its courier to Zawahiri in Helmand province. They were being sheltered by the Taliban, which also lost fighters killed in the operation. The UN estimates that Al-Qaeda has around 500 armed operatives in Afghanistan and Pakistan. There are deep personal ties, including through marriage, between the two groups that date back decades. That's adorable. The report, in the bottom line, Taliban appear to have strengthened their relationship with Al-Qaeda rather than the opposite. The notion of a break in their relationship is mere fiction, in the words of the UN member. Other terrorist groups are also embedded in the Taliban in Afghanistan. Lashkar-e-Taiba, no relation to Matt, I don't think, and Jaish-Mohammed are two Pakistan-based groups that target India. They have over 1,000 fighters in Afghanistan co-located with the Taliban. Both have long-standing ties to Pakistani intelligence services, the intelligence service, inter-services intelligence, and Central Asian and Uyghur terror groups also present with the Taliban. By the way, this is something I brought up on my Twitter feed yesterday in terms of China's upcoming adventurism in Afghanistan. They're going to come in there and think they can make deals to get rare earth minerals by building roads there. They're going to try and apply the exact same thing that they've been doing in Africa. It ain't going to work. Okay? It's not. It will not work. And one of the biggest reasons is because the Taliban and the Uyghurs share a belief system. And more travel between China and Afghanistan is going to lead in a strengthening of the Uyghur rebellion that is going to come. And the more the Chinese tamp down on it, the more the Taliban are going to get mad about that. And then conversations between Uyghurs there and Taliban are going to lead to slaughters in the desert of Chinese, the Belt and Road folks. And just count on it. They're going to have a big IED problem with all their little projects. Seriously. Afghans are just tribes that either hate or marry each other. And you're not far off, Tony from Ireland. And in a lot of ways, that there is no Taliban. There's some coordination between them, but not much. And that's why when they took over, they're like, you know what? We're fine with women in the government. And we're fine with, we're basically going to just let you guys run stuff, and we'll be in charge of stuff. Kind of like the mullahs in Iran. They want to be the mullahs in Iran. Because they have no fucking idea how to run a country. They don't. If indeed Afghanistan is a country at all. But that's another conversation for another time. Yes, China's dipping a toe in, and the Uyghurs are still imprisoned in China. It's going to be a fucking mess for China. I don't know why everybody thinks it's like, oh my God. How have I ever been in Afghanistan? I've never been in Afghanistan, no. A decade ago, a report from the new Obama-Biden administration on Afghanistan and Pakistan. The UN report is hauntingly familiar in its conclusions. Good news is that Al-Qaeda has been severely degraded in the last 10 years. There's 500 of these dudes. Yeah. I mean, look at the storylines from a few months ago. If you want to know what the news narrative is really about, go back a few months and see what CNN or MSNBC were saying about what was going on in there, and then go back about a year and look at what Sean Hannity was saying about it, which was that Trump can do no wrong and yada yada. So I'm gonna slide over here, and then I'm gonna move my screen. I'm doing housekeeping, like literally, while I'm doing the show. It's just it's normally not something I like to do, but for some reason, it's just. And then I'm gonna shrink myself down a little. Just a little bit, if I can. I'm using a lot of computer power right now, so it's freaking out. Yeah, there you go. All right, and then I'll move myself down a touch, and then we'll be good. Okay, so it makes me choppy for a little while. It takes it a moment to catch up. It gets all strange. So, okay, here we go. Now, but please, Sean Hannity, tell us all about how Trump would have handled it way better.
Other supplies abandoned during Biden's hasty retreat. He wasn't even smart enough to take our munitions out. Terrorists from Al-Qaeda and...
Yeah, we did. We took out a lot of our munitions. We didn't take any munitions that would require us to put soldiers in harm's way to do it. They don't have any missiles. None of the airplanes or helicopters that they claimed are U.S. They're from us. But they were given to the Afghan military, and no one in the Taliban knows how to use them. So, good luck servicing them, guys. Don't forget your checklist. I recommend Sporties. If you don't know, if you guys are gonna flying, here you go. If you're ever thinking about, let's see. If you're ever thinking about flying, you can do Sporties or the King Schools. These folks, yeah. This is I forget their names now. This is gonna be like flight instructor. Where is it? Oh God damn it! What's their names? It's sort of about King Schools. Yeah, John and Martha. Oh my God. So this is when I started learning to fly, and then COVID and other wind and climate change related delays, because you can only fly at a certain altitude without clouds and that kind of stuff. In Southern California, it's kind of a bitch. But this is Martha and her husband, and they teach all the courses online, and they've been around forever, and they're just adorable. They're an adorable couple, and they can teach you. If you want to learn how to fly, check out the King Schools. It's kingschools.com. John and Martha King. They're hilarious. They look like people who would guest on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You know what I mean? So, and welcome new patrons, 711 and 712. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget patreon.com/HouseParks. I'm just saying, it's like $5 a month. I mean, you can obviously go higher, but this guy makes $90 million a year. Not guilting me.
And ISIS, they were freed from multiple prisons all across this country. They soon will be plotting and planning their future terrorist attacks.
Yes, and we will strafe bomb them or hit them with drone strikes in their stupid little camps from other countries or from our boats.
On all of the U.S. and the rest of the world, fomenting terror.
They're going to be fomenting it. Honestly, Sean, I would go back to vaping. The snorting Adderall thing that you picked up from Trump is not, it's not working out.
The American flag lowered over our embassy beyond...
Well, we're moving our embassy out. We're not going to leave our fucking flag.
Humiliating.
Why is that humiliating? We're getting out. We do not recognize the Taliban government. Why the fuck do you have an embassy in a country where you don't recognize the government as legitimate, dum-dum?
Diplomats hastily were evacuated by help.
Sorry, how slow are you supposed to... Guys, everybody walk, okay? Does everyone... Sean Hannity is giving everyone a hall pass.
Helicopter to the airport. The very thing Biden said wouldn't happen. This viewer warning, what you're about to see is incredibly graphic. But take a look at this.
Dude, we've been looking at your face for like 5 minutes now. We can handle it.
Terrific video. Earlier today, thousands of desperate Afghan
saw this
and citizens
who didn't flood this footage, and it's all men. It's all men.
Fleeing certain death at the hands of the Taliban, now rushing to the tarmac of the airport, trying to cling to a departing C-17 military,
which had about 600 men in it, and well, families in it, largely.
Plane. Some crushed under the wheels planes, and others.
The wheels planes? You mean the plane's wheels? I'm sorry. I'm nitpicking again, aren't I? By the way, the situation in Afghanistan is very serious, and the humanitarian problem there is very serious. And one of the ways that I take it very seriously is not taking this dipshit talking about it seriously. Okay? So any jokes within the context of this is based on the fact that I am pissed that this asshole is being taken seriously in a conversation about this by anyone.
Fell from the plane midair, during its ascent, hoping they might be able to hang on and get out of there. Dozens of others desperately attempting to board any and all commercial planes parked on the runway. At least 7 people died in the chaos. And tonight, as we speak, there are approximately 10,000 Americans that are still at Kabul's international airport.
Yeah, we're taking out somewhere between 3,000 and 9,000 people a day over the next 6 days. Do the math.
Desperately attempting to flee the country.
No, Hannity does not have asthma or postnasal drip. Hannity has probably been self-diagnosed with ADD because he's bored with his rich man gig, and is having a hard time getting a mild chubby to go to work every day. And so he figures if he just, does a little, presidential smoke, that'll do it.
Joe, what are you doing?
They're evacuating 3,000 to 9,000 people a day using C-13s. They've seized the other part of the airport, the military side of it. They are transporting people, and then they're going through the checkpoints with any first American citizens, then international reporters or anybody else who wants to get out. There are a lot of people, by the way, who are staying, either believing rightly or wrongly that they that they are going to be safe, or that they need to stay there. Yeah.
6,000 U.S. soldiers now are in the process of re-entering Afghanistan, taken over by the Taliban, to try to now secure the airport, to try and save.
No, they already secured the airport. They're going to facilitate the removal of not just our people, but other people.
Americans, without a doubt. A complete, total failure of leadership, planning, and execution. And
But enough about President Ghani.
True to form, as the disaster unfolded over the weekend, Joe Biden was nowhere to be found, aside from this bizarre photo showing Joe all alone at Camp David, crouching over an empty
talking to people who are actually in Afghanistan
table during
and all over Europe.
Zoom call, and we got nothing from Biden all weekend while this was unfolding in real
because it was unfolding in real time.
Yeah,
that's see when you make real decisions for a living, it's it's kind of well, Sean, I was going to use an analogy that you probably don't understand. It's like when your wife has a problem and she needs to communicate that problem, and you need to listen to what the problem is before you know how to respond. Now, normally, we all know that when you used to have a relationship, more than likely, you would just interrupt her and with adorable phrases like, "Oh, not that shit again," right as she was getting kind of emotional or dealing with the depth of the actual issue. And you were a leader in that moment. We understand that. Whereas the rest of us, when our partner has something to talk about, it unfolds in real time, and we take all of it in, and then make our decision. I know, it sounds nuts.
Press secretary wasn't available to circle back on anything. Jen
Yeah, they were all on vacation.
Psaki, she was on vacation. If you wrote her, you got an auto reply from her email account reading, I will be out of the office from August the 15th to August the 22nd. Hope you're having a great vacation. Vice President Kamala Harris was also...
Shouldn't you? Yeah, you're right, Sean. She should have added something like, unless the, yeah, I know, the echo comes and goes. It's very strange. I'm not quite sure what the deal is. I apologize. It'll just be a little Elvis-y until I can go through the pieces of what the hell this is.
So, MIA, but today, well, finally, Joe...
That's a lot of sniffing, man.
Biden comes out of hiding for a very brief, scripted speech by his...
Yeah, it's written. You usually, if you are saying something meaningful, you want to write it down. You want to work through the bits. You want to think about the content. You want to recognize that every word matters. I mean, not you. Obviously, you do this shit every night. It's just time to make the donuts.
Staff before headed back to vacation, where he blamed everyone for this catastrophe but himself, but says the buck stops with him.
Well, then he didn't blame everyone. He didn't blame it. He goes, yeah, like the former guy made this deal for May 1st. We pushed it because we need more time to deal with some of the reality and the logistics, which Trump, by the way, never worked on, not a day, not ever, not once, from the day he made the deal, period. But never mind that. That's not important. The important thing is that Biden said the buck stops here, and that means Sean thinks he's not taking responsibility.
But I blame him, and him. Take a look.
When I came into office, I inherited a deal that President Trump negotiated with the Taliban. The choice I had to make as your president was either to follow through on that agreement or be prepared to go back to fighting the Taliban. So what's happened? Afghanistan political...
Notice these edits. Wow. Right at, or go back to fighting the Taliban. As if you cut it right there, it makes him sound weak. This is friggin' amazing.
Leaders gave up and fled the country.
They did.
The Afghan military collapsed.
They did.
Sometime without trying to fight. I know there are concerns about why we did not begin evacuating Afghans civilians sooner. Part of the answer is some of the Afghans did not want to leave earlier.
Uh-huh. I don't know how that's blamed. That's just true.
I am President of the United States of America, and the buck stops with me.
But I blame everybody else.
No, he said these are all these situations that were in play, and in spite of those things, I could have decided differently. I could have done this instead, but all of these decisions are mine. This is, yeah.
And by the way, did he have any problem overturning, let's see, President Trump's secure border wall, stay in Mexico?
Sorry, overturning the wall? Sorry, what did he fucking do? Show up and put doors in it? Folks, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, what we're going to do is we're going to put dormers on the wall.
Did he stop building the wall? Trump that stopped catch and release now is Joe Biden's process and release.
Process and release? Is that what it is? What happens if that would seem to denote, by the way, that we don't just catch people and let them go. We process them. We go, yeah, you can go. You're a woman with an 8-year-old child, and you have a sponsor and possibly family members, and you are fleeing violence. You have neck tattoos. Fuck off. That would be part of the process.
In the middle of a pandemic, without vaccine passports, vaccine mandates.
They don't have enough vaccines. We're vaccinating them.
Mask mandates, and just send people all over the country.
Well, no, we don't just send them all over the country. They get vaccinated before they get sent out, or they're in quarantine if they've been exposed until it works its way through. They're not just taking the COVID. I mean, obviously in McAllen, Texas, whoever runs that city was dumbass enough to put their immigrant COVID center in downtown. But that's Biden's problem.
Same with energy independence. Yeah, he took us away from that too. Has no problem changing policies on everything.
well, yeah, if they don't work or they suck or they're not useful or they're costing the American people money, time, influence.
Recap, Biden blamed the Afghan people, the Afghan military, the Afghan president, the Afghan government, and President Trump when all else fails, because laughably claiming that the buck stops with him. Pretty spineless and pretty cowardly. And of course...
Well, no, I mean, he ultimately says the buck stops with him. He's like, this was a deal he negotiated. I could have changed it, but I chose not to. We extended it a little bit, but we're not staying any longer. Now, if you want to make the case that this would have been different if Trump had come back in office, do you think any preparation would have been done for May 1st? That was the day. That was the day he negotiated last year. Does anybody think that May 1st of this year, if Trump had won the election, and by the way, maggots, he lost fair and square, real election, loser. But does anybody think that on May 1st they would have gone, well, thank God Trump put in a program in January to help us evacuate all the VICs? Please.
Of course, Biden took zero questions following those remarks. I'm sure he was too exhausted, too much work. Spent a whole
No, it's not debatable, dumbass. That's the policy. Like, I mean, people can talk to you about the emotional aspects of this, but it's a decision made by the commander-in-chief. That's it. There's no questioning. And in this situation, you can bog down and make the situation worse if you get into a tit-for-tat with reporters. That's why he has spokespersons.
20 minutes and immediately returned to his vacation at Camp David for more.
Well, no, they went back to cover it more and then work on the policy that would eventually lead to them evacuating 3,000 to 9,000 people a day.
R&R and ice cream with sprinkles on it. But let's be honest, this speech would not have happened today if not for the immense blowback from pretty much anyone with half a brain.
No, he was going to actually give it, like, what president wouldn't give a speech? Oh, Trump, right. Trump is the one who always got forced into giving a speech and looked like he was going to shit the bed.
Even Joe's protectors and the media mob could not ignore the full disaster that this is. Take a look.
How does the Biden administration miscalculate this intelligence so gravely?
This is a few.
They don't. I mean, we can go back into this, but at what point does the State Department and the Department of Defense spokesperson come out and go, yeah, as soon as we get most of our people in it, like, Taliban is going to take over this fucking place. That's what the word on the street is. So we're getting the fuck out. Like, who talks like that? Because if the Afghan government and the forces had any chance at all at that point, it would have gutted them anyways. Like, this was not inevitable 3 weeks ago. But it certainly would have been if the State Department had gone out, yeah, absolutely. I mean, God, fuck, I wouldn't be there. I mean, if you're there, I would run for the hills right now. Anybody. If you're in Kabul right now, I'd hop in your car and start driving for the border. This is going to be fucked up. I don't know what to tell you guys.
Fiasco. This is, a big part of life is execution or implementation, and this is just malpractice. This has just been a fiasco by any and every measure.
This is not just about the overall idea of leaving Afghanistan. This is about leaving hastily and ineptly. Secretary Blinken, how did President...
We had 2,500 people in a country of 38 million. 2,500 in a country of 38 million. Now, besides being a rousing endorsement of the American military and the fact that 2,500 American service people can keep a 38 million person strong country from falling into utter chaos. Besides the fact that, holy shit, our military is amazing. That just having 2,500 of them in a country like that kept it afloat all this time. But at what point are there 2,500 Afghans that could do the same fucking thing for their own people? Jesus. CNN's fine most of the time, but they're just flipping out about this one. This one just hit him, in a hard spot.
President Biden get this so wrong?
But Joe Biden,
He didn't get it wrong. They're not going to tell you the truth. I got news for you. Why the fuck would the State Department come out and tell you the truth about what a shit show the Afghan government was and the Afghan military was when they were getting word on the street from and intelligence from all those places telling them this is going to be fucked up? They're going to boost them as much as they can to keep the Taliban at bay for as long as possible. They're going to go, oh yeah, absolutely. They're totally capable. They could kick the Taliban's ass. They got all this shit. Absolutely, they can do this because they know it's inevitable, but at least if they talk that way, the Taliban might go, oh, maybe the United States knows something we don't know, so maybe we shouldn't do this major push across the country. Didn't stop shit. Bye. We're out. Now we can work on, along with the UN, evacuating as many of the women from that country as we possibly can that want to go, and helping any of the refugees in Iran that went across the border and in any way that we can, in either repatriating them or working with the Iranians to create sort of an autonomous zone where they are safe from the Taliban, but they're not officially Iranian citizens, and in the same way that you have refugee camps across the world.
Biden is going to be the face of the failure of the withdrawal.
Friends and foes alike are calling this withdrawal a fiasco, a debacle, and it is one that apparently the administration did not fully appreciate or see coming.
There's no question.
No, they knew it was coming. There's just no good no good possibilities here. All of it sucked. And half of the choices you can see, and you can go back and watch their briefings about this, including when they're talking about the early withdrawal plans. Is this happening too fast? When we're talking about getting the Vic people out.
The White House was wrong about the length of time they had, wrong about the strength of the Afghan military, wrong about the reach of the Taliban.
Wrong about the absolute weakness of the Afghan forces and the fact that the president left the fucking country.
In so many ways, this is completely on President Biden. And
yes, and he knows that, and he's taking it because we just got to get out of there, and we're done. We're not in the fucking Congo. We don't have a base there.
To sum up, Joe Biden did everything wrong. Remember, just 1 month ago.
Everything. So Sean Hannity wants us to stay in Afghanistan.
Biden was assuring us that a Taliban takeover was not inevitable at all.
It wasn't. But it certainly would have been if he'd have said, yeah, I mean, fuck it. I've seen some of these Afghan forces. They're just assholes.
Because they had such a strong army, and they had an air force and everything, and there was 300,000.
Yeah, they just chose not to use it.
Well-trained, some of the best-trained soldiers in the entire world.
Yeah. And all the training in the world doesn't make up for heart or giving a fuck.
Only 75,000 Taliban. No, that's not going to happen. No, we won't have to be, taking people out in helicopters.
No. He didn't say we wouldn't have to be taking people out on helicopters. He said from the roof like Saigon. And we ain't, and we don't have to.
Last minute. We won't have people racing out of there. Wrong again.
Is the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not. Because you have the Afghan troops at 300,000, well equipped as any army in the world, and an air force, against something like 75,000 Taliban. It is not inevitable. There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of an embassy of the United States from Afghanistan.
300,000 well-equipped, and they have an air force. I mean, as good as any military on the face of the earth. The exact opposite happened, Joe. These are the images of people being lifted off the roof.
When would that have changed? That's what I want to ask any of these assholes. 6 months? 6 more months if we just train them, give them a few more helicopters. We gave them more airplanes and helicopters in May as part of the extension. When? When was that going to be different? Christmas? Spring next year? Look, the fact that this fell so fucking fast meant that Biden was looking at this going, look, it's going to be a shit show. We got to get the fuck out. This is terrible. We're nobody in the Afghan government or in the military is going to protect these things. We'll give them a bullshit story to cover for themselves for a couple of months, but we're going to be gone.
Of our embassy over the weekend, when you said it wouldn't happen. Yeah,
but they were leaving because they didn't go across the roads. It wasn't because they were climbing up. Like, I mean, do we have to? Okay, hold on.
The crowds of Americans and other foreigners lined up at installations around Saigon waiting for buses was huge. It told the Vietnamese that this was the end of the line. For most of those who wanted to leave their country, this would be their last chance. Some Americans who pushed towards the bus tried to pull their Vietnamese wives and children along with them. There were desperate scenes with families separated and crying out for help, pleading not to be left behind, clutching at the last straw of hope. We rode through the streets of Saigon for more than 4 hours, unable to find a way out or anyone who could tell us where to go.
Yeah, that's not happening.
At Tonsanut Airport, armed paratroopers turned our buses back. At one point,
yeah, that didn't happen either.
We were unloaded on the Saigon waterfront, where we could see American helicopters circling the city, and Vietnamese trying to escape on boats heading to the sea. No one wanted to be left in this
unfair comparison, since there is no fucking water.
This crowd that at times was strangely quiet, but that always was on the verge of panic. We all decided to try and reach the United States Embassy, and once there, we found it surrounded by Vietnamese looking for a way in and a way out. Helicopters were landing on the roof and inside the compound as we walked to the back of the embassy. We had to push and shove our way through a crowd of several hundred Vietnamese trying to scale the walls, only to be knocked back by U.S. Marines. Once inside the compound, for the Americans and those Vietnamese who managed to get in with legal documents, and the many who managed entrance without, the rest was easy. It was just a matter of waiting your turn for a helicopter to take you to one of the ships on station off the Vietnamese coast. The American fleet had been having problems since the start of the evacuation, with the arrival of South Vietnamese pilots and their helicopters loaded with family and friends. Hovering above the decks to unload their passengers, the pilots were unfamiliar with landing their craft on a moving ship. One crashed into the side of the USS Blue Ridge. Others managed to crash land on the deck of the ship.
Yeah, I don't know what part wherein an Afghan helicopter crashed onto the deck of an American aircraft carrier or in an American base, just for the record.
For those that did manage to put down, they were simply pushed over the side and into the sea by U.S. sailors and Marines to make room for the returning American craft based on that ship, filled with evacuees from Saigon. Other South Vietnamese pilots just hovered long enough to unload their passengers and then headed to the side of the ships and just jumped out with their life vests to be picked up by U.S. sailors.
Whoa. Yeah. I don't remember any American pilots dumping their helicopter or their airplane and jumping out of the fucking thing.
The helicopters crashing into the sea. Still other pilots headed out to the side of the ships after unloading their passengers and settled the craft into the water and then jumped out, again waiting to be picked up by U.S. sailors. Many hours later, as one of the last evacuees arrived, U.S. Ambassador Graham Martin, the final American ambassador stationed in South Vietnam.
Kudos to him, by the way, for sticking the fuck around.
So many long and many years, the American involvement in Vietnam was
literally like one of the last people to go, and intentionally. So this is here we go. Just to give you that bit of contrast right there.
On your Bay of Pigs, and it gets worse.
By the way, Yeah, nothing is worse than actually calling this Biden's Bay of Pigs. Like, it's bad enough and dumb enough, and because there's helicopters involved and there's an evacuation involved, the loose, shitty comparisons to Saigon can be forgiven slightly. But the Bay of Pigs? The Bay of Pigs. Holy shit.
In June, Biden's Secretary of State, this guy's a
Saigon on steroids. Well, yeah, the American response was stronger, I guess, this time around.
total idiot. Tony Blinken, the guy that sucked up to China and took lectures on human rights from them, as the Chinese are now threatening our military bases day in and day out. They don't say a word. Well, he proclaimed that a quick Taliban takeover was not possible. Yes, it was. Don't we know that now?
One, we're not withdrawing. We're staying. The embassy's staying. Our programs are staying. And
yeah, that was till the president of the country left. See, as things are unfolding in real time, the Afghan government was, in theory, going to stay. Once they left, bye-bye.
And whatever happens in Afghanistan, if there is a significant deterioration in security, that could well happen. We discussed this before. I don't think it's going to be something that happens from a Friday to a Monday. So I wouldn't necessarily equate the departure of our forces in July, August, or by early September with some kind.
Yeah, this was in June. Yeah. However, Sean Hannity, let's understand what's being asked here. What Sean Hannity is asking for is that this Tony Blinken of June 7th, going with the information he had at the time, with a functioning government in Kabul and the fact that we have an extraction plan that was supposed to be scheduled for May, but we bumped it to later in the year so that we could get some of our the people that helped us out. That guy, this version of Tony Blinken, that we, no matter what happens in Afghanistan, we stick to what he said 2 months ago. Because that's smart decision making. That's it. You know, it was Charlie's idea that we come to this party, and now that we've rolled up and there's a gang fight going on and people are being murdered, we're staying because he said this party was going to be cool.
Kind of immediate deterioration.
What the what? Hold on. Christ almighty. Get out of here. Hold on. All right. Jam up my chat with your diatribes, your cut and paste.
Number one, you lied. Number two.
No, he didn't. That was the information they had at the time. The information changed. You're lying, Sean. You're a liar. But keep counting on your fingers. It'll help you focus better than snorting Ritalin and Sudafed.
2, people will die. Number 3, you armed the Taliban, and you need to be fired. Number 4. Again,
he armed the Taliban? He armed the Taliban. Should we? Well, let's just go with this. Let's go. Trump, Taliban, peace deal. Trump's deal with the Taliban set the stage for Afghan collapse. High hill. History will mark August 15, 2021 as the date the Afghan government collapsed and the Taliban retook control over its troubled and war-torn country. Control, that should be in quotes, but okay. But the real date that Taliban's victory was assured is February 29th, 2020. The day the Trump administration signed what it characterized as a peace deal with the Taliban. Once this agreement was signed, the tragic collapse we witnessed this weekend was inevitable. Of course, the agreement was not and could not possibly have been a peace deal since the parties currently at war, the Afghan government, was not a signatory. Rather, this was a withdrawal agreement between the U.S. and the Taliban that set the terms for the complete departure of troops by May 2021. What did the United States gain in exchange for this withdrawal, for which the Taliban had been fighting for 20 years? Nothing but vague, unenforceable promises that the Taliban would not engage in hostilities against the departing U.S. troops and would, quote, send a clear message to Al-Qaeda that it had no place in Afghanistan, which they clearly didn't do. So eager Trump was to withdraw, we did not even hold out for clear, firm commitment that the Taliban would not provide aid and safe harbor or weaponry to Al-Qaeda and like-minded groups. The agreement contained no enforcement mechanisms and included no penalties on the Taliban for failing to comply to its terms. Once the agreement was signed, the fate of the Afghan government was signed, sealed, and delivered. The Taliban had practically won the war, and there is no way the government could possibly survive. The fact that the United States entered into negotiations and then an agreement with the Taliban without even inviting the Afghan government to the table undercut the power and legitimacy of the government. The citizenry, including those in the National Armed Services and Police, could plainly see that its own government was being ignored, a helpless bystander in critical discussions about the country's future. After we had cut the legs out from the government and rendered it a paper tiger, it is no wonder that those serving in the Afghan army and police were asked to fight. Most said, no thanks. The agreement also did absolutely nothing to attempt to bring about a peaceful settlement of the war between the Afghan government and the Taliban. A genuine peace deal would have made our withdrawal contingent on the progress of peace negotiations between the Afghan government and the Taliban, but it did not. Trump agreed unconditionally to bring down the U.S. troop level to 8,600 by mid-July 2020 and totally withdraw by May 2021. The agreement anticipated there would be peace negotiations, but in August, Trump voluntarily cut levels down to 4,500 even more quickly than required by the agreement, even though negotiations had not even begun. This was a clear signal that there would be no linkage between the withdrawals and peace, contrary to what U.S. diplomats were telling the parties. More U.S. troops will leave Afghanistan before the election, Trump says. The president's assertion undercut diplomats who have said withdrawals will depend on the Taliban's commitment to its peace deal with the United States. In a recent interview, Trump called the U.S. involvement in the Middle East the single biggest mistake in the history of our country. President Trump said there would be fewer than 5,000 troops in Afghanistan by Election Day in November. Gee, that sounds like it's based on actual military strategy and not a political decision at all. Signaling that the United States will continue to withdraw troops from the country despite limited progress toward the state of peace negotiations between the Afghan government and the Taliban, which there were none. We're going down to 4,000 and we're negotiating right now, Mr. Trump said in an interview with Axios, which was filmed on the 28th. Watch this full there you go. Video is unavailable. Oh, that's sad. And we're negotiating right now, Trump said in an interview with Axios on July 28th and released in full Monday night. The president's statement seems to undercut U.S. diplomats' repeated assertions that any further troop reductions in Afghanistan would be based on the Taliban's commitments to the February 29th peace agreement signed with the United States. After the signing, the U.S. military is supposed to completely withdraw from Afghanistan in 14 months, a move that senior military officials have called aspirational. Heavy on the ass. In the interview, Mr. Trump called the U.S. involvement in the Middle East the single biggest mistake in the history of our country. The agreement with the Taliban calls for additional conditions-based troop withdrawals as the peace process evolves. Major Rob Lodwick, hello, a Pentagon spokesman, said in a statement, the president's direction on the issue has been clear, and the department is moving to effectively implement that guidance in consultation with Congress and in close coordination with our NATO and partner nations, which was also not true at the time, but whatever. Taliban continues to attack Afghan troops, and the United States military has bombed the insurgent group dozens of times in their defense since the agreement. The American-led mission has refused to publicly acknowledge the strikes. By the way, that's not going to change. Just letting you know. This summer, the Pentagon prepared several options for further troop reductions, including a complete withdrawal of troops, U.S. troops from Afghanistan before Election Day. A move that would most likely abandon any hope of a U.S. moderated peace settlement in the country. You think? The president's decision to move about 5,000 troops from 8,600 was the Pentagon's preferred option of those proposed, defense officials said. The effect of the coronavirus pandemic has already greatly restricted U.S. military operations in the country, making troops already deployed there next to useless because many of their roles required in-person training of Afghan forces. But, guys, I forgot. I mean, come on. Last year didn't exist.
And the exact...
Oh, yeah. Rambo 3 was dedicated to the gallant people of Afghanistan, specifically the Mujahideen.
Act opposite.
And in Spies Like Us, Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase come across the Yusufzad. And it's one of my favorite scenes in that whole fucking movie because there's a bunch of fighters on the hillside where they are, and Chevy Chase is asleep, and Dan Aykroyd's asleep, and Chevy Chase pulls up, and he looks up, and they're just surrounded by these forces on camels and horses, and he wakes up, Dan Aykroyd, and goes, "Your time to drive. Your turn to drive." And Dan Aykroyd sits up and looks around, and he goes, "These are the Yusufzad. They're our allies." And he stands up and goes, "We're Americans!" And then the next cut, they cut immediately to the two of them being hung by their feet.
It happened. Now many are calling Biden's ill-planned retreat worse than Saigon. The Biden administration...
Well, not many, just everybody at Fox and Newsmax and OAN. It's a small group of people, really.
...is actually begging the Taliban, please, terrorists, please allow Americans to safely leave the country 2 decades after 9/11. Make no mistake.
Make no mistake. We're still in that fucking country.
Is about so much more than just Afghanistan.
Is it? Yeah, this is about the next 9/11.
The world is watching. Our allies and enemies alike, they are witnessing Joe Biden's pathetic...
Joe Biden being the only president of the last 4 to get us out.
Weakness on the world stage. It is humiliating and embarrassing for this country.
Why?
Now one of China's top newspapers, they're predicting that America will abandon Taiwan, just like they did Afghanistan.
Yeah, because just the news says so. What's college radio say about it?
And now openly planning a total reunification. Let me interpret that for you, Joe. That means a takeover of Taiwan. And meanwhile, Russia doesn't fear us either with all their cyber attacks. They don't respect us as well.
Yeah, they don't respect us the way they did when they could shake a bag of treats and the former guy would roll over belly up.
And they're now supplying all the energy for all our Western European allies because you let it happen and you grant...
No, they don't. The Nord Stream pipeline, for one, let's say that at some point America wants to cut off oil supplies as which is one of mainly the only thing Russia produces right now besides weapons. But that is the way they make money as a country. They are the Middle Eastern country of the North, right? All they do is oil. But before they would move it with tankers, specifically ships, and then some trucking, right? If we wanted to stop their money, if we wanted to stop their ability to make money, we would have to blockade ships and blow up roads so the trucks couldn't get through. Now, somebody can run out to Nord Stream and shut a valve and fuck Russia into a corner.
Him a waiver.
But that's because, I mean, I know Sean Hannity is incapable of digesting any kind of geopolitical chess in that way, simply because, I don't know, maybe he needs a bigger dose.
Simultaneously firing American Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah, the Canadian shale oil pipeline that, what's more important, Sean? In terms of survival. Let's say you're walking in the desert and you discover a pool with 1,000 gallons of oil and another pool with 1,000 gallons of water. Which one are you jumping into?
workers. Great job, Joe. And after Joe gifted them with a new pipeline, well,
No, it was already built. They were already going to go through with it. Obviously, during the Trump years, it got largely completed. And now, again, all we have to do is wreck a pipeline and Russia's fucked. Whereas before, we'd have to sink 4 ships.
The U.S. has now endured a never-ending stream of Russian cyber attacks.
Well, we're not enduring them. We're fighting back against them. I don't know why we had a bunch of Russian cyber attacks last year and Trump did fuck all. Why is it that Biden was in office when he discovered that we didn't have a ransomware task force and put one together?
In Iran, we have the mullahs now continuing to enrich uranium at an accelerated pace.
Yeah, they weren't doing that during the Obama negotiated deal. Why would they start? Oh, like, if you were in a deal and the other party broke the deal, why would you keep up your end of the deal? Yeah, if Joe doubled down on Afghanistan, Fox would be saying he's a warmonger. No question.
Pace.
You'd be hearing them talk about the military-industrial complex owns Biden.
And of course, Joe had the South Koreans give Iran $7 billion, even after Joe attempted to bribe them with more international currency. In Afghanistan, we now have Al-Qaeda's safe haven is back. Biden steadily destroying America, standing on the world stage, and now Americans everywhere.
Well, we can stand on the world stage. We just don't have to stand in Afghanistan.
Where are less safe and less secure.
He does look like a baked ham with a toupee on it. It's true. I half expect a meat thermometer to pop out of his left ear.
As they plot, plan, and scheme their next 9/11 attack on America. It is.
Yeah, I mean, now they have to figure out how to fly a plane and actually carry it out, whereas before they could just walk about 100 miles over the course of a few months and blow up a bunch of U.S. service people. Wouldn't that be better, Sean?
Book, Obama's Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates wrote that Biden had been wrong on nearly every single major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades.
Well, he's not wrong about this one.
Remember, he didn't want to take out bin Laden. And according to Politico, Biden's former...
No, he wanted to wait a couple of days to make sure he was there. If you listen to him tell the story, if you listen to the other people that were there tell the story, if you listen to Obama tell the story, he was getting from everybody. Yes, we should do it. They should. And he goes, what do you think, Joe? And he goes, if it was me, I'd wait 2 days to make sure he's there. I don't know that I trust we have enough intel to know. And we're sending troops, boots on the ground to do this. This is not a drone strike. If this is a drone strike, it'd be one thing. Just fucking call it. But we are sending soldiers in to try and get this fucker. And their lives are on the line. And if he's there today, he'll be there in 2 days. And we're watching that place like a fucking hawk from space and from, the stations we have around there that would be the staging places for the support troops. That's what he said.
Boss, President Obama, even expressed a similar level of concern, telling a fellow Democrat, quote, don't underestimate Joe's ability to bleep things up.
Yeah, that was when they were both for gay marriage. But Obama's advisors told him that if he came out for gay marriage, it would ruin his chances to get elected. So coming out for that marriage is between a man and a woman, but civil unions are actually what we're for. Even though that's not where he was. He believed genuinely that gay marriage should be the law of the land and should be legal. But he also knew at the time the public wasn't there yet. And his advisor, David Axelrod specifically talks about this, that Axelrod was saying, look, I know you're for gay marriage, but if you say you're for gay marriage, you're not going to get elected. And the guy who's going to get elected is not for gay marriage at all. He's not even for civil unions. So you can either tell the absolute truth and not get elected and ruin the lives of a lot of people, or you can tamp down what you're saying, get in office, and actually, hopefully move the country in the direction that you're thinking over time. And then Biden came out and went, well, shit, yeah, I think gay people should be allowed to get married. That's what he was talking about. Biden jumped ahead and said it when they were still doing the civil unions thing. Because he was honest.
This is the difference, by the way, between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
Yes, there is a difference. There's a couple differences. One is Biden is president, Trump is not. Biden will more than likely serve 2 terms, and Trump, nah. And I guess Biden loves his kids. I think that would be it.
For all the snowflake.
Because honestly, have you ever seen Trump hugging anyone but Ivanka? And have you ever seen him hugging Ivanka where it didn't look like he was going in for the grope? I mean, if there are there Eric and Don Jr. hugging pictures? Yes, and Biden takes responsibility.
Out there that got they got the vapors every time Donald Trump sent out a mean tweet and everything.
Well, it's not mean tweets. If you're saying transgender service people can't serve, that's not mean. It's grotesque. It's largely evil and gross because he was just putting it out simply to distract from another problem that he had. And these are people who are willing to put their lives on the line in a way that Trump did not. He had bone spurs allegedly, and he didn't serve.
Well,
yes, and rip Bismarcky. That happened a few days ago, but he got what we need.
They feared Trump. The world feared Trump.
The world feared Trump. No, the Taliban did not fear Trump. He made deals with them under the table. For political purposes, he gave them prisoners that we had captured in exchange for a quote-unquote ceasefire. The ceasefire was just so that we could pretend there was no big deal, there was nothing going on. By the way, the ceasefires were never honored. There was constant fighting. Let's see, Trump, let's see, Taliban ceasefire. That should be fairly easy to find. I can spell. Well, I mean, I think this one comes across pretty well. Republicans delete webpage celebrating Trump's deal with Taliban. Really? Why would they do such a thing? And didn't everything Trump did, wasn't it awesome? Page touting former president's historic peace agreement disappeared over the weekend. Oh, did it now? A webpage on the Republican National Committee on the side of the Republican National Committee detailing former President Donald Trump's work on issues related to terrorism in the Middle East disappeared over the weekend as Taliban militants took over Kabul and toppled Afghanistan's government. The page, which returned a 404 error as of Monday, it was Executive Order 404, but could still be seen on archive sites. Yeah, that pesky internet. Dealt with a number of issues, including the Trump administration's negotiations with the Taliban, as well as the normalization of relations between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. President Trump has continued to take the lead in peace talks as he signed a historic peace agreement with the Taliban in Afghanistan, which would end America's longest-running war. Read the webpage. Before it was taken down. RNC officials did not respond to an email request for comment on the deletion. Their response, well, they did, but their response was deleted. Other parts of the webpage detailing the deal struck between the Trump administration and the Taliban highlighted parts that set up a ceasefire between the now-defunct Afghan National Army and the Taliban, while allowing the U.S. to undertake counterterrorism activities in Taliban-controlled areas. The webpage text gave no indication that the Trump administration expected or even saw a takeover of Afghanistan's government as likely. So, under my administration, all civilians and equipment would have been removed, said Trump. All civilians and equipment would have been removed. Sorry, Sean, wake up, Fox sippy cup anchor, whatever.
When Donald Trump...
Yes, 404 means the webpage is no longer there.
...gave a threat, they believed him. Biden...
No, they didn't. He paid them under the table on the side to make it look like they were taking him seriously. Or he gave them something they wanted to make it look like his threats worked. This is why the Republican Party took down the page they had on his Afghan peace deal.
They know is weak and not running the show.
Well, he's running the show. He's pulling our troops out, and he means it. Fuck you.
The world sees it. They're not influenced by America's media mob and propaganda outlets. America and the world deserves better.
We do have better. I agree. We do deserve better. Biden's a great step in that direction and a great step away from Trump.
The world needs a strong America. Sadly, under our Biden, I fear this is only the...
Our Biden? I'm sorry, do other nations have a Biden? Do they have a slightly younger model? I would like him to serve 8 years and also end up on the Supreme Court.
Beginning, and it's only going to get worse.
Work. Good quality there. Nice work. For the record, it's only going to get worse. Excellent work, Fox editors. That's their clip. I did not stop it. That's where the clip ends. Work. Yes, that's a fine bit of YouTube editing.